Oh, thank you, whoever just started recording that. So we're talking about teams. We're going to go up to the teams. So it's more of an internal function where you're going to have teams of people, whether this is the Arizona team or the California team, or maybe you just have a bunch of TCs and you don't ever plan on getting bigger. So you have the, the Bill team and the Susie team and the Jane team, whatever. You can set up your teams however you want. A lot of people will set them up for expansion teams. So they'll have the Boise team and the Phoenix team. Some people are just listing team, transaction team, whatever. So a lot of different functionality. It depends on how you guys want to set this up. When the agent submits the intake form, you can automatically assign what team it's going to go to. Okay. It could be the same intake form and 50 different agents, and it goes to 50 different teams if you want to. So you're not locked into one intake form going to the same team every time. And that's just to touch on this before we get into teams. You come over to your agents, you have their forms here. You do have the ability to say, when Brian fills out the buyer intake form, I want it to go to the Acme Realty Boise team. Okay. So just to touch on that, so you're not lost on, whoops, sorry about that. Let me go back to my organization. Okay. So teams, this is a lot of functionality in here. Let's go to a 2-person team. Roles. So just to talk about the roles on the teams, you want to set up roles for 10 years from now. If you plan on expanding your operation, if you think there's any chance in the future that you're going to expand, and even if you don't think, still do this because you may change your mind. Think about the roles that could come onto the team. So you may have an intake specialist, someone that handles just intake forms all day long. You may have a document specialist or a compliance manager, whatever you want to call it. You may have variations of this. You may have like a compliance manager and a compliance assistant. And that may be someone that's in charge of all the docs and making sure they're right, but they also have the assistants who are uploading the docs to Command and SkySlope and Brokerment and all these different places. Okay. So you want to set these roles up for 10 years from now, 20 years from now, whatever you're thinking. You just want to think long-term in this because you don't want to have to go back and change these. These roles are assigned to tasks. So if you go over to the tasks in a property, and you would be going to the templates, it's just easier for me to go to the tasks. I'm going to open this up, and you're going to have in a template, you're just going to have the assigned to role here. You're not going to have the users. Once it gets down to a transaction level, whatever role is assigned to this, it's going to go back to the team that was assigned to this transaction and look for anyone that's a transaction coordinator role attached to them. In this case, Stewie and test person both have transaction coordinator attached to them. So they both got assigned to this task. Now, why this is so important is because if you assign everyone transaction coordinator and you in the future decide, hey, I'm going to split up my team and I'm going to work 5 people working one transaction, what's going to be very difficult because now you're going to have to go back through every task template and reassign all these roles. If you assign the roles in a way, and let me jump back over here so you can see what I'm talking about. If you go over to the teams and you assign it in a way where right now Adam is all of these people, okay? But as I hire people, I hired Peter and he's a compliance specialist. Well, now he's going to take over documents too. Now it's as easy as just coming back to Adam and saying he's not handling documents anymore. So I'm going to uncheck that. And now maybe like 2,000 or 3,000 tasks just updated instantly in the system by unchecking a box and checking a box. So it's a better best practice to have a 1-person transaction team and they handle every single role on that team. Okay. As you hire people, you can uncheck boxes from that one end-to-end transaction coordinator and add them to maybe an offshore help or an assistant, in-state assistant that you hire, whoever. Maybe you just have someone going to take over this job except for one task. Now it's really easy to come into Adam and uncheck these boxes or these roles and assign these roles to someone else. So that's why teams are so important. They're so flexible and they're so scalable. It's better than any system I've ever seen. I've worked with Salesforce and a lot of different, and it's a lot easier to reassign these tasks in a unique fashion. So now let's say that Adam is sick today. Now you can either have someone else go in here and impersonate Adam on the team member page. You could actually have them go into Adam's account and impersonate, or you could come over to your teams and you could just say, hey, Lois is going to take care of all Adam's tasks today. And you can just check all these boxes for the day. At the end of the day, just uncheck them And now you've handled someone's sick, someone's out on leave, someone, gets fired, hired, things like that. It's really easy to change these around. So sorry, that was a little long-winded, but it's a very important part of the program. And so I wanted to go in depth on, best practice on how to use that, because I see a lot of people and I come in here and I look at their roles and it's transaction coordinator. That's going to be really difficult to scale in the future. So, okay. How do I see all of my contract due dates for the day?
Hey, Andrew, I actually, let's skip that question for now, just because the other one is a follow-up question to exactly what you're talking about. I figure like we'll stay in the same vein.
Perfect. Appreciate that. I'm just reading them in order. So if you see that, yeah, let me know. Follow-up. So teams are only my TCs on the back end. When I think of teams, I think of my agent teams. Now, think of a team as just your TCs. Let me just read the rest of this and make sure I capture all of it. ABC Realty I set them up as a team. I want to be able to. Okay. So yeah, it's just terminology. Think of this as all internal. All of the teams is internal. Your agents are totally separate because your agents aren't licensed users. So we're not dealing with agents as licensed user, right? We're just using these agent portals to tackle the agents. How you would want to tackle teams for agents is you would want to go over to your contacts and you may create a group out of them. So you may say, hey, Rick is going to be on the ABC Realty group. And then you would just add that to Rick. Okay. Let's just pretend brokers is that group. You would just add him. So you could have all of your agent teams in a group so that you could quickly search for them. You could come over here and you could have like a thing for ABC Realty, and the only filter on that would be the group for ABC Realty. It would pop them all up here so you could see everyone's contact information. Okay. You can also do connections. So if you wanted to, you could have this would take a little bit more time, obviously, but you could have Rick and you could associate him to all the people on his team. And then you would go to the next person, who would be Morty, and you would do the same thing for him. Maybe he's on the same team. You could come into connections and put in all of his team. Now, remember, when you're doing connections, just to touch on this while I'm here, and let's just say Charles is on Morty's team, don't check this box. This box means that every time you add Morty to the transaction, Charles coming in. So a little side note, just to make sure that if you are using connections, you're using them correctly. It does give you a little description up here of how you should be using these. So hopefully that answered your question as far as teams go. Yeah, the terminology just, it gets a little wonky because you're talking about teams and agents and team members and all these different things, and everyone has a different meaning for them. But while you're in open to close, just think these are licensed user and open to close. So these are the team members we're talking about, is your transaction team or your TC team. Okay. Okay. How do I see all of my contract due dates for the day and what has been met and what's still outstanding for the day? Sure. So the most efficient teams I've seen on the program are utilizing the task pipeline at a high level. So all of their due dates are obviously on the tasks, and then you can come in here and you can filter these and you can create snapshots. So let's just say that you have like 3 time blocks of tasks that you want to do. The first time block is going to be all of your critical tasks that are whatever, I don't know, active buyers or active sellers, sorry. So you can come in here and you can create all these filters. Show me all my red with the tag compliance on them that are critical, that are pinned to the top, that are, that are a buyer, that are, active, whatever. You can come through here and create these, and then you can create a snapshot of it. So you never have to do that again. A lot of people I see name these 1 dash and then whatever their first time block is, or 2 dash, whatever their next time block in. I've actually seen people do their time block times on here. 10 a.m. this time block, 12 p.m. this time block, 2 p.m. this time block, and they just go down and handle all the things in that time block. This is super powerful. Not only the filtering system of this, that's, even though it's so powerful, that's the least powerful part of this. The most powerful is that now in here, you can turn on your filters and you can do everything that you want to do from this little task here on this transaction. If I want to send an email on this transaction, I just pop open the email. And you can see this email is going out from this transaction. If I want to change a field, I can pop open all the fields and change a field here. If I want to just search for one field, and just change the closing date. I can pop that open. So you can see all this functionality that you can do for the transaction just from these little, I can call someone, this is probably one of the best ones, is you can pull up all the documents. You can download, upload, change things, do whatever you want here. So from here, you can see, and you can turn off some of these filters if this is too big for you. You can snooze this. You can grab it and move it over to tomorrow. You can see who's assigned to it. So much you can see from this view, and you can actually handle your whole week's work, because in here you can see, if I click on these will go away. You can actually see the next 7 days and any unscheduled tasks at the end. So now I can see my whole week's worth of work, or the next 7 days at least, coming up, and I can take care of all those things before the next week, get ahead, and if you want to, you can see, let me see here. So closed tasks, I can't remember if we can see closed tasks on here. Shane, I'm drawing a blank. Can we see the closed ones on this view?
No.
No. Okay. So for closed tasks, you would have to go into the individual transaction. Now on the trigger pipeline, if you're using triggers, this is on our highest upgrade plan. I believe there's some way to see the sent ones. I'd have to look at that, but I thought there was a way on here that you could see the closed ones.
Actually, no, that was never released.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe in the next iteration.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea to be able to see, kind of like what we were talking about this morning, Shane, the archive stuff. It kind of see that view of everything that's been completed in the last, maybe the last 7 days or something like that. That's an interesting thing. Put that in the idea lab, Tammy. That's actually a really good idea. But this is the way most teams are being super efficient if you're using tasks or triggers, because now you're getting a holistic view. You're not having to go into each individual transaction every single day and see what's due. You can actually see it right here, and you can get ahead of the game, and you can kind of block these together by using these snapshots. And if, like, say I want to see I just touched a file and it's this one, I can actually click on just that file to just see those tasks for that. So if you want to just look at one property at a time, it's still better to be here than it is over in the transaction. The transaction gets a little clunky because you're in and out. Here, you're just changing the option here to a new property, and now all your tasks are going to update as well. So hopefully that answers your question. If you can put a follow-up question in there if you want more detail on this. Okay, we show how to add a field from an intake form when a condition is added. I see how to remove a field. For example, if a field is equal to broker J, then add the discount field. Okay, so I'm going to muddle through this because I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but let me go over to my intake forms. Actually, what do I want to do? I want to go to templates, intake forms, and let's scroll down to intake form. Okay, so a couple of different ways to handle fields in here, and I'm just going to go through both, even though your question's a little bit more limiting. I'm going to go through both for people. So as far as adding a field to your intake form, you're going to want it here so that the agent sees it and fills it out. Okay, this is visible. If I check that green, that's visible. If I make it red, that's required. Over here, this is going to be visible to the TC. So I don't want to check this. Let's just say this is like something that's not required. I don't want to check this and make it required, because if I do, they cannot start this transaction until they fill out this field. So these are just visible ones that you want to see during the transaction. These are the required ones for the TC. These are the required ones for the agent. Now, if you have something that doesn't come in 100% of the time, this is probably the easiest way to think about it. If this section or this field does not come into your transaction 100% of the time, okay, if it's even 99.9% of the time, you do not want to check it here, because you don't want to have a bunch of fields that you don't need in your transaction. How you're going to handle that is through two things: form conditions. So you could say, if referral is equal to yes, then what do I want to do? Then I want to come in here and I want to add two more fields about referrals. I want to capture what the percentage is and who's the referring agent. I want to maybe add a referring agent here in the contacts that they have to fill in all their contact information. Maybe I want to put the referral form and add a document to make it required that the agent puts in a referral form signed so that I can submit that for compliance. And then maybe I want to put additional instructions in here as well So this all happens if they just check the box that says, yes, there's a referral. They check one box, and now all of these things are going to happen automatically. Fields are going to pop in for them to fill out. Whether those are required or not required, that's up to you. Contact roles are going to pop in that they have to fill out. Whether they're required or not required, that's up to you. Same with documents and instructions. Okay, so that's the first way. You don't want to clog up your fields with things that aren't coming in 100% of the time. You want to use these little caveats, these form conditions. Think of this as the form builder. So as you're filling out conditions, if referral is yes, then I need to capture 2 more pieces of information from that agent. So it's actually building the form right in front of you. Now, form conditions is a little bit different, or I'm sorry, form triggers is a little bit different. Form triggers is going to be on the back end. So you're saying, if this is true, let me find one here. So here's some fields. Okay. If I had a condition here that was, if it's a buyer, then I want to add these fields. Now this is on the back end. So I want to add the field, let's just say property details. I'm sorry, this is a field section. It's adding all the fields in that field section in. Now, do I want to make this field section required for the TC to fill out before it becomes a transaction? 99% of the time, this is no. Sometimes they may have the information, sometimes they don't, but just be real careful. If you say yes here, that means that they have to have every field. If you have 20 fields in this section, that TC has to fill out all 20 of those fields up front for this to become a transaction. Most of the time, you're not going to want that. So just internal required means the TC is required to fill that out before it becomes a transaction. Most of the time, it's going to be a no again. And then what do I want to do? Do I want to add this field section, or do I want to remove this field section if those conditions were true? So if referral is yes, then let's pretend this is referral details. If referral is yes, pop in my referral fields for my TC to see. So you're not adding them over here that come in every single time for referral. You're only adding them if the agent said there's a referral on the transaction. So hopefully that's clear. If not, you can put a follow-up question in there. Okay, that was the last one.
We could skip ahead just a tiny bit because Tammy had a couple of questions I think we could knock out pretty quickly here. You were talking about the groups with the contacts. I don't remember us actually showing the filter section where we can actually make more. So if you just want to maybe show the filters of this is where you can create a contact group and then how we can apply it again. I think.
Yeah, contact groups, sure. So let's go in here. It's the hammer icon under filters, and you're gonna have groups here, and you can just type them in. So if I just want to put, here's a test group, enter, and there you go. There's a test group. Now, once this is created, now you can come over to the contacts, and that group is available to stick people in. So I could go to Rick, and I can multiple select and do these too. So don't think you have to do these individually. I can grab, let's say all 3 of these, and I can come to my options, and I can say, let's put these in a group. And I want to add them to this group, this group, this group, and I want to remove this group, this group, this group. And then I can update them. And now I can do mass actions. Now, if you're only doing one person, you can actually go into the contact and you can go to groups and you can add as many groups as you want. So I can say, I want to add all these groups to this one person. So if you're working with one person or you're just working with like multiple people in one group, depends on how you're going to tackle this. So. And Tammy, this is recorded too, so you can go back and check this out. Now, when you create your tables, let's say you create a buyer, or let's say you create a, I don't know, team A. Okay, that's your table that you created. Now you can come in here and just create one filter and put, I want to see all the people in the team. Let's just pretend team A is this one, team A group. And then when I add that, when I close this, now that's going to be a filter, and there's only going to be people. I don't have anyone in this test group yet because I just created it. So there's no one going to be in there, but that would just show that team. Okay. Okay. And you can create as many groups as you want. So I think you have a limit of like 9,999. So you can create a ton of them. Okay. Matthew, anything else, or should I jump back up to the top?
Oh, we could probably jump back to the top.
Okay, cool. In starting our account, which step is best to start after creating the team? Email templates, task templates. Well, actually, even before email templates and task templates, you're going to want to create, you're going to come over here to your filters. Sorry, I didn't click on that fast enough. filters, and you're going to want to handle contact roles and file roles. So contact roles, there's extensive videos on this. So you can go back and watch some of these videos, but basically a contact role is someone in the transaction that you want to assign a role to. The reason these roles are going to be important is because you're going to be able to say, if this contact exists, send this email. If this contact doesn't exist, send this text message. Or, there's a lot of automation that goes around these contact roles. And so, yeah, and just emails too. When you're creating template emails, you're sending the email to a role. So you're sending it to everyone that's a buyer. So if you have 18 buyers and they're all have the designation buyer on there, and let me show you how that works so no one's confused. Let me come up here to the dashboard and just go to, let's go to this transaction. Okay, so let's go to contacts here. So if I'm sending an email to buyer, because I'm not sending it to John, I'm not sending it to Morty, I'm not sending it to whoever, I'm sending it to everyone that's a, let's say seller actually, because there's a couple sellers right in our view. So if I say this email goes to the seller, it's going to come over here and scan through our people in this transaction. It's going to go, okay, I got one seller, I got two sellers. That's it. So it's going to grab those two sellers and attach it and send that email to those two sellers. So that's where this becomes important. As you enter people in the transaction, you're going to set this role. Now, if people don't change, like the appraiser, you can set the appraiser role over in the contacts so that it, Shane in this case is going to come in as the appraiser every single time. Now, if you're setting buyers and sellers, you don't necessarily want to set this because they're switching back and forth, right? Morty just is a seller now, but now he's going to go buy a home. So he's going to turn into a buyer in the future, and then he's going to turn back into a seller and turn back. Hopefully he's going to do that a lot so that you have a lot of transactions to handle. So you don't necessarily want to set this over in the contacts, because if he comes in as a seller and you forget to change it, now he's getting emails for the seller. So over in the contacts, you just want to leave that role blank most of the time. If it's a buyer or seller, if it's a home inspector, transaction coordinator, things like that, then you can preset those so you have less work to do on the opening of the transaction. So let's go back to your original question. What should you do first? Contact roles is the very first thing that I recommend you do. Then come back over here to filters and then go to your file roles. File roles is any document that could come into your documents tab. And the reason we need file roles is to associate the PDF that you've put, let's just assume it's a PDF for right now. The PDF that you download, we need to say what that PDF is. It may come in 123 Main Street on the title. Our system has no way of knowing what that document is until you tell us. So now when you set that file role on it, you say, yeah, this is the, I don't know, this is the addendum number 1 fully executed. Well, now you can set automation in our system and you can say, if addendum number 1 exists, then I want you to go and send an email over to the other side and maybe attach that document automatically to that email so that everyone has a record of that email. Maybe it's a buyer signed document. Well, maybe on a buyer signed document, you can set up some automation to send it over to the seller to get their signature now, so then it can become fully executed. So the more granular you make these file roles, what I did is I just went in zip form, transaction desk at the time. Sorry, guys. Let me just, let me go to my other tab here. I got to shut down my, I got to shut down something here so it quits beeping. Okay, that should help the beeps. So what I did was I went over to transaction desk or zip form. I can't remember what I was using at the time. And I just grabbed every residential document that could possibly come into a transaction. And I went ahead and loaded them up. And then I said, who can sign this document? The buyer can sign it. The seller can sign it. It could be fully executed. Maybe an agent could sign it, AS, maybe a lender could sign it, LS. And I went and made these super granular, even if I didn't need them at the beginning, because now I have a ton of automation options to me. Now I can say, if this document exists and this field says X, now I want you to automatically send this email and attach this document to it and send it off to the right person. And now it's just cutting your time down exponentially. So these two are the very first things I would do: contact roles, file roles. Like I said, there's extensive videos on how to set these up that you can go and watch. Then you're going to go over to fields. And people on our team may have some differing opinions. You could do fields before you do contact roles and file roles, I guess, if you wanted to. But fields, contact roles, and file roles are the 3 really important foundational pieces. And then the add-on to foundational pieces is email templates and task templates. So email templates and task templates would come next. If document templates are important to your workflow, then obviously those would be thrown in there, date templates, all that stuff would come after. But those first 5 things I mentioned, those are kind of the foundation of the system. Okay. Is there a way to have external links or buttons that go to third-party sites? The only way I've found to have clickable links is by having them as a hyperlink inside of an email or task description. Yeah, that's and a note. You can do a note too. If you put them in notes, put them on their own line. If you're going to do a note, I'm going to show you why here in a second. If I go to notes and I start typing a note and I want to have a link in here, I want to put it on its own line. And the only reason I do this is because, and then I'll put the rest of the note down here. The reason I do this is because then I can just triple click on it, right click, and then I can say, go to open to close. And if I click this button, it's going to open up that new tab to whatever link that I put in there. So little trick, if you have it here and you go to try to triple click it, it's going to grab this whole line. I think you might be able to double click it and get it to work still. You have to play around with it, but I always just put these links on their own separate lines. So it's really easy to link out to. Yeah, I believe you're right. Those are the only ways. So we have notes inside an email and task description. I think you can do document notes as well. Anywhere where there's a note, I think you're able to just triple click it, right click, and then say, go to that website. And I think that's, if anyone else has anything on that, let me know, but those are the only ways I know to do it. Okay. When writing an email within the transaction, can, whoops, sorry, they're bouncing around on me a little bit. When writing an email within the transaction, can I just start typing buyer or seller to the recipient box, or do I have to know the buyer or seller name to manually edit them? I'm not talking about templates, but writing an email out of a transaction. So you're talking about here, and you're talking about, let's see here, let's switch this over to TC workflow here. Let's go to, so you're saying you just want to type buyer and then have this person pop up. So this is their name. So this isn't grabbing the role. But over here, if you hit add, now you can come over here and see who the buyers are. And you can say, send that to Michael, send that to Rick, send that to Elaine, send that to Ty, send it to Shane. So those are all my buyers. So this is the way to do it, by clicking this little add button instead of typing buyer. Okay. Okay. How do I mark a task critical like you talked about so we don't miss a contract due date? Sure. So let's talk about tasks first. And actually, we'll probably do this over in the template because it's going to be critical every single time. So you want to make sure that if you're making changes, don't make them on every single transaction. Make sure you're updating the template. Anything that's going to happen more than once, you want to update a template. Okay. Let's go into this one. And now I can come over here and I can make this critical. And so you just click this little critical button. And now whenever I put this task template into a transaction, this is actually going to appear at the top. You're also going to be able to filter by critical tasks. You're going to be able to do a lot of things with the critical and also the pin. The pin will pin it to the top. What else? What else was in that question that I wanted to tackle? Let's see. Oh, yeah. So a couple other things that you can do. So as you're starting the transaction, let's pretend that there's some fields that are really important to get filled out, or maybe I'm just going to pull open the fields for this. Where are the fields? Oh, details. Here we go. Okay. So let's say something's really important in here that you have to do every time. You can actually, you can say, hey, I want to make this high. I want to make it medium. I want it low. What that's going to do is pop it up into your health bar, so that our motto is no red before bed, right? You've probably heard me say that 100 times. No red before bed. What you can do is make a field red. You can make a contact red. You can make a document red. And that way that health bar turns red. So before the end of the day, when you're checking those red things that need done, now you're able to, here, let me just show you an example of a health bar. So if I come into this health bar now, before the end of the day, because I still haven't cleared my red, so I need to check this out. Let's pretend I've already sent all these emails and did all the tasks. Now I can come in and say, oh yeah, I did have to get this signed. Let me take care of that. No contacts that I need to reach out to, but fields, I got 3 fields that were high priority. It looks like I got them all filled in. You know, Maybe this one's only medium now, so you can just click it over to medium. Now, the next time you come in here, this will bounce down to below these top two. So just a little add-on to the critical. It's another way to alert yourself of important things is by marking contacts, fields, and documents high, medium, or low. Also notes. Forgot to mention notes, but you can make notes high. And that way that red doesn't go away. And if you did teach your team to clear out all this red before the end of the day, then they're touching those things and making sure that they do clear up those things before the end of the day. Or they can just snooze them or leave them for red for the next day if they're, if it's okay. Okay.
And then also you could use the critical as a filter for like the task pipeline. Maybe you just want to see, hey, I need to see where the most critical things that need to get done. So that'd be just another use of it.
Yeah. So here you can see that I have these critical. Let me take this off of, let me take these pinned ones off. Okay. So pinned are going to be at the top. Now, if I scroll down here, I'm going to see some critical ones, but I don't want to scroll. What Matthew was saying was you don't want to scroll. You just want to find all your critical. Just click on this button right here, critical, and it's going to show me everything that's critical. So now I can just see my critical tasks. If I just want to see something of a color, if I want to see something with a certain tag, if I want to see something assigned to a certain person, if I want to see just the, let me take that critical off for a second so I can show you the rest. If I just want to see the things that came in from this task list, okay, this template, then I can click on this and it's just going to show me my tasks from the basic buyer checklist. Okay. And you can see this little filter here. Now, if I want to see all tasks again, I can just click on all tasks. So there's a lot of filters up here that you guys can use to make your life a lot easier by using the color ball, by using critical, all this kind of stuff. So if you just want to see ones with your triggers on them, whoops, I accidentally clicked on triggers. If you just want to see those, you can click on this one. So you can also search. If I want to search for everything with the word pinned in it, just start typing pinned and they'll pop up. So yeah, filtering is a really nice feature. And if you're working over in the task pipeline, like we talked about before, you have a lot of filters over here. So pretty cool stuff. If I decided to make a new field section, how do I move something existing fields to my new field section? They won't move and I can't delete them, or that would mess everything up. Well, it depends on what field you're trying to move or delete. So there are a couple hard-coded fields in here, not many. We're very custom. But let me move this down to, where would this go? That would go under the address. Okay. So in here, there's a couple fields you can't delete. Address, city, state, zip. Those are county. Those are, you can hide county, I think, but you can't get rid of them because those are part of our filtering systems, contract status, contract client type. Now, what you can do is if you don't like the contract client type, let's just say that in there is test 1, 2, 3 buyer. You don't like test 1 through 3. You want to get rid of that. You can just delete that. And then let's pretend that you have a different type of buyer. So you have, I don't know, you work with gorillas. So we're going to add a gorilla in there. So now you can just add those. So you can have a bunch of custom ones in here too. You can delete out the ones that we put in here. None of these have to stay. Okay, I don't think so. No, none of these have to stay, but you do have to keep contract status, contract client type, address, and I believe that's it. You'll see closing. Surprise closing is in there. I thought you could delete that, but maybe not because we needed the closing date probably for filtering. But you can come in here now. There's the new update, and I don't know. I believe all this is in the new update. Where now you can do some pretty cool stuff. Before you had to do all this manually. What you had to do before is click on the property, it'd pop up here. You'd have to come over to your field section and you would have to move it to the field section you wanted. And then you'd have to update the field, which took, forever. Now you can come in here and just say, hey, these 4 fields, I want to move these and I want to move them to this section. Or I want to delete these. Just be very careful deleting. Deleting is a very we run into this all the time where someone accidentally deletes something. It's like, be very careful. Fields are kind of the bedrock of this program, custom fields. And so fields are connected to your emails. Fields are connected to your smart blocks. Fields are connected to so many different things that intake forms is another one. If you delete them and don't realize what you're deleting, you could be screwing up an intake form. You could be screwing up a whole set of emails that go out to your buyers. You could have smart blocks that aren't going to trigger anymore. You could have emails that aren't going to trigger anymore. So think through the system before you're deleting. A lot of the times people will move these to a deleted field section and just kind of keep them off to the side in a different field group until they're 100% sure it's not going to screw up anything. Another trick is, let's say that this is CC&Rs, and in your state, well, that's a bad example. Let's say inspection, and let's say in your state it's option. Don't delete this field and create option requested. Edit this field, because now everywhere in your emails or smart blocks or intake forms or whatever that has inspection requested is now going to turn to option requested automatically. So now you're not being destructive to the system. You are actually just updating everything without you having to go through every single task or every single template in the system, making sure everything's correct when you add a new field. Now you're just replacing. And so it's a lot easier to do. So, and it's a lot less destructive. If something happens, you can always change it back. And now it's not like killing your whole workflow and you're in panic mode now. So, okay.
And just to piggyback on that, if it's okay, Andrew.
Yeah.
Moving your fields in your field editor, if you guys have any live property records on the front end, that change will reflect there. So if you move a field to a different field section that's not on a property already, you will need to add that in, from my understanding. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong there, Andrew.
Sorry, I muted myself. Nope, I think you are correct. I think you're correct. So if anyone has any questions about fields, feel free to reach out to support before you start deleting things. It's just a very destructive thing. And unless you have a really good handle on how your system was set up. So if you're a TC and someone else set this system up for you, definitely consult them before you start making changes. We had a case recently where someone set it up. Another team came in to finish the setup, deleted out some of the intake, and it broke a lot of the pieces. So it can be tough. Okay, if I get my follow-up boss for my TC company, can I link it to my OTC so that my contacts can sync to my FUB? I don't want buyers, sellers, but I do want all the agents. Okay. Also, if I update a contact in OTC or FUB, will it sync both ways? No. So it won't sync both ways. How it works is, well, let me caveat this by saying that we are going to do a fairly decent size upgrade to the FUB connection. So Follow Up Boss is a CRM, if anyone doesn't know, mainly geared towards agents. It's one of the best CRMs out there. Right now we have we have a very robust connection right now, but the way that contacts work is you can bring them into here. Let me just show you, because this is going to be easier. I'm trying to think through how to explain this in my head. And it's just much, much easier if I actually go to the section. Okay. So if you're in contacts here, it's bringing them in from Follow Up Boss to Open to Close. So if I say import contacts, I have two API connections hooked up, one for my agent, one for my TC. You might just have one in here for admin control for your TC. You could click on this, and then it's going to give you a box where you can bring in any of your contacts into that transaction. It also works on intake forms. So in your intake forms, you have the ability to say import from Follow Up Boss if you have your API connected. In the future, will we make a two-way sync or something like that? I don't know. We're going to dig into it here shortly. FubCon's coming up in November. And so we're going to dig into Follow Up Boss and see what we can do with the new deals section and the custom fields and deals. And what else are we going to look at? Tagging. We're going to look at a bunch of stuff in Follow Up Boss. So I can't give you a straight answer right now, but the way it works right now is Follow Up Boss to Open to Close. Now your fields in here, you can sync these back out to Follow Up Boss, and these can stay connected to Follow Up Boss custom fields. With the new change that Follow Up Boss did to deals and having custom field within the deal, that's something that we want to do, because let's say you have an investor and they have 3 properties going. Well, if you're syncing these dates from 3 different properties, it's screwing up that contact record, because Follow Up Boss does everything by contact record. So if you have Joe Schmo over there, he has 3 deals going. Well, it's constantly updating for the 3 deals in the custom field section. So it doesn't even make any sense. So what we're going to do is try to sync these dates out to the appropriate link the transaction in the deals, and then link the fields to that transaction versus linking them to just a contact. Okay, so it's going to make it a much better connection. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of upgrades to that connection. We're going to try to make it more intuitive in the back end of the system when you come into the follow-up boss section here, the content sync, all of this, the deal sync that you can sync over the deals to follow-up boss, and then also the widget. We're going to try to make all of this more intuitive and a little bit more automated for you guys so that you can set up a follow-up boss transaction in a fraction of the time. Okay. When writing a blank email, if I need to add a contact in, can I do it live? For example, if I didn't have the lender contact info right away, but need to give it to the title after the fact, how easily can I share the lender contact info within a blank email? Oh, super easy. So you just come in here. And if it's a one-off email, then you're going to be working here. Let me go ahead and delete this email. Oh, that's a good point. If you're in here and you see an email already populated, you want to delete this before you go starting on another email. Some template was applied beforehand. So let's just say that I want to go ahead and add in, let me just add in like, so what I would probably actually do is create a smart block for all of your, okay, so let me actually approach this a different way because it's going to be easier for you. Well, let me do the hard way first. Okay, so here is the contact info for whoever, right? Here's contact info, blah, blah, blah. And then you could come down here and you could come to your merge fields and you could say, I want to go to my contact roles and I want to give them the attorney information. So I'm going to give them the attorney full name. I come down here and give them the business name, the business address, the city, the state, the zip, the blah, 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 right? And you basically what you're doing is every time you click here, you're copying over here into the email. And so that's the hard way, right? Because you have to come over here and you have to say attorney full name. And then you have to come back over here and say paste. Okay. Did I not do that right? I don't know what I did there. Anyway, you would paste them in here once it's connected. And then you would do that for the whole contact information. The easier way to do it is set up a smart block for each of your, and let me see if I have contact loops in here. So I have a bunch of contact loops set up already. And so let's say I wanted to send the buyer information. Come in here to buyer and you can start a loop because a buyer may have, there may be 5 buyers on this deal. And you don't want to have to sit there and do that for each buyer, right? So what you would do is you'd create this contact loop and you would say buyer. So that's coming in every single time. Start your loop. And so your loop is over here in the merge field. So you can come over here to utilities and you can say contact loop. It copies it. You can come over here and you can paste it. And then you're going to put everything in between these two. So it just comes in with start contact and end contact. So all that's doing is saying, start my contact here. You're going to put all the information you want the other party to see. So full name, email, phone, cell phone, space. This BR is a space. That's also up here in the utilities. Click on this. It'll copy that BR here. And then you can paste it into a line. Okay. That's going to break. That's a line break. So it's going to have a space here. Then it's going to end the contact. But the cool thing about having a loop in here is that if you have 2 buyers, it's going to loop through the first buyer and give all that information. It's going to automatically loop through the second buyer and give all that information. If you have 16 buyers, all you have to do is put in this one smart block and it's going to loop through all 16 of these. And it's literally going to list them in this email for the title agent in this case. And so your example didn't, I wanted to go over someone where you could actually have more than one, and that's why I picked buyer. But for lender, you could have one for lender and it just pops in the individual information. But for buyer, it could actually list 16 different buyers in here with just all you'd have to do is come over here and say, here's the contact info for this person. You'd come over to smart blocks. You'd pick your smart block for contact loop, contact buyer info, click on that, come over here, and you would paste that. And I don't know why it's not pasting right now. I must have something going on here. But anyway.
With the smart blocks, you actually want to put that into the code view. With the regular merge field, it'll just copy the value. But if you're going to try and manually do that like you're doing with the smart block, you actually want to open up that code view first, paste it in there, and then you should see it do its magic. Okay, so save that. It's just a little more advanced functionality there.
Yep, there you go. So when you do it, if you're doing it on a one-off, now if it's already in a template, you're not gonna, that'll all be set up already. But if you're doing a one-off, do what Matthew said, click on this, put that in there, and then it's gonna grab, I'm in a transaction right now. So it went over to that transaction and it grabbed the first buyer, put in the information, grabbed the second buyer, put in the information, grabbed the third buyer, put in the information. So that's gonna happen automatically. Okay, that was a long one. Let's see here. Can you go over the red, high, medium, low again and follow? Sure. So basically in a transaction, you have the ability now to say you're in documents, and let's just say, I don't want to do it now because I have to wait for something, but like before the end of the day, I need to check on this addendum number 1, and that's not the place to do it. Let's see here, where's, oh, it's under my priority now. That's right. So here under the P, if I wanted to check on this before the end of the day, I don't have to do it now, but this is really important to check before the end of the day. I'm going to make it a high priority. Okay. And that's my addendum number 1. What that did is it popped it up here and it made this red bar a little longer. And now if I come down to documents, so if I'm clearing out all my red before the end of the day, now you can see that addendum 1 popped in here. And now you can go through this and say, oh, I had to do something with my referral agreement. Okay. Yeah, I did that. Let's get rid of that. I accomplished that. Counteroffer number 2, I accomplished that. And this one, I can't get it done. I still need to wait for tomorrow. So I'm going to leave it high. Or, oh, it's not as important now. Maybe I have to check it in a few days. I'll just make it medium. And so you can do that with not only documents, and you can see how this changed over here, but now you can come over to fields too and say, okay, contract 7, I already have this filled in. I don't need this anymore. That's not so important. But septic, oh yeah, we found there's a septic on the house. So now this is really important to take care of before the end of the day, or at least get more information. I can make that red. Now, if I come up in here and look for the septic inspection, it's going to be down here in my fields, septic inspection. So now, or maybe you need to call someone. You can come over to your contacts and let's say that Rick, I need to call him before the end of the day, but it's not time yet. He's not off work. You could put a note in, or you could just put a priority on him so that you check that. Now, if I come up here in my contacts, I should have Rick is in here now. There you go. You can even change the role here. You can do something, edit contacts. But anyway, Rick is in here for you to check on. This red just got a little longer. Okay.
And to piggyback on that too, you can preset your priority levels for documents in your document template. Yep. And for fields in your field editor as well. That would just apply every single time you use that record.
Be careful with fields, because unless it applies to 100% of your transactions, you're not going to want to set those there. You're going to want to do it on an individual basis, but maybe contract acceptance and things like that. Maybe that's important right off the bat, home inspection, but don't go crazy with those, because that is going to apply to every single transaction that comes in with the fields. There's no triggers for that, like to say, if this is true, make this one red, make this one red, make this one red. We don't have that functionality. Okay. Smart blocks. I like the idea for contacts. Is there a way to have these as standard part of the program? I ran out of my allowance for smart blocks just to build. No, unfortunately, if you need more smart blocks, you would have to upgrade to the unlimited plan to get that functionality. And honestly, it's well worth it to have those smart blocks, because as you get further in this, you're going to have, I mean, I have hundreds and hundreds of smart blocks, and every one of them saves me a minute per transaction. Those add up significantly. And it's just a lot of processing power on our end, unfortunately. So we do have to charge for that, so that you're getting unlimited task templates, unlimited task triggers, unlimited smart blocks, unlimited intake forms, a lot of unlimited stuff that's bringing a lot of value to the business. So, and a lot of processing power on our end. And that's why we have to compensate for that. Okay. Can you review one sheets? I want to send an email every Friday to update the agent of documents that are missing. Yeah, definitely. That's one of my favorite ones, actually, is just the document one. The one sheets, I don't use the one sheets for like a full update, but I do like to use that. And it depends on what you're doing. They're great for everything. But for me, I like a document update. And so I have a sample right here. So I can edit this. And as you can see, I don't have any of the fields checked. Okay, I don't want any fields in this one. And these are all my field groups, so you can go through those if you need to. Here's the design. Put your logo, put your colors, all that good stuff. Okay, layout. This is the cool part. So you can change the layout if you want, but also down here, you can say contacts. So I want any contact information in there. Nope. I just want documents. So in this case, you have a lot of choices here. You can put in your documents. You can put in, include the placeholder notes. So if you have notes in there, that'll be included. Do you want to include the additional files underneath the main file? So if you have photos and you have 57 photos, one in the main placeholder and then 56 in the additional, do you want to include all those or just the main? Do you want the file links in there? Do you want to include the notes? Do you want to flag missing documents? This is one that you may want to do. You may want to have some like missing the missing documents, and you may want to flag those so that the other party sees that, hey, these 3 are still missing, and these are the most important 3 for compliance. Do you want to flag fully executed docs? Do you want to include all the custom labels that you have in there? And then do you want the definitions of those labels? Sometimes the labels you'll have like AISS for approved in Skyslope or AIC for approved in Command or something like that. Well, your client's not going to know what that is, but you can create like a little legend so that they can see what those are. So I like this idea of just, so you can see I don't have any property notes, any tasks, any of that stuff. I don't have any fields. This one in particular is just the documents. And I think it's really powerful. Send this, maybe on a Wednesday or Thursday. I like Thursdays, so they have a day to kind of get me the stuff needed, and I'm not, they can get them to me on Friday and they're not sending them to me on the weekends. But yeah, you can do that. Okay. Yeah, be real careful. That's kind of a best practice that I've just found over the years is I'm real careful to send stuff to agents on Fridays, because then they send it to you on Saturday and expect something to happen with it. I'd much rather send it out on a Wednesday or Thursday and have them send it to me on a business day. Okay. My critical contact dates on my transaction does not have dots next to it, so I can mark them high priority until they are resolved. Let me go in there and see what you mean here. So let me go into this one. Okay, so critical, let's see here.
Well, I think she's actually talking about the fields. I was able to go take a quick peek into her account of one of the properties, and she doesn't have the priorities next to the field. So like you're showing the high, medium, low, she doesn't have those particular dots. Correct me wrong if I'm wrong. That would be one of the upgraded features as well.
I'd have to check on our plans and see if these were part. Yeah, I think these are part of the $99 upgrade. Actually.
So the smart blocks and the priorities would all be grouped in together. That's that one same add-on.
Yep. Yep. And I'll check on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it's that's the way it's done. I just can't jump into the back end right now. Okay. What's the price difference to buy more smart blocks? It's $99 extra per organization, not per person. But if you have 10 people on your team, it's just an extra $99 per month for the whole team. You don't have to pay $99 per individual person. So if you have 2 people on the team, you're paying 69 times 2 plus $99. Okay. Can I see a one sheet be created for a whole group so an agent team leader sees all of their transactions? So we don't have that ability to group the one sheets into multiple transactions. It's per transaction. So you're sending out the information per transaction. So you may have, if let's say an agent has 5 transactions going on, they would get 5 separate PDFs because there's just too much information to put in a 1-page PDF with fields and contacts and documents and all this stuff. It's like very overwhelming. So we have it set up right now, and I don't see it changing anytime soon, that it's just per transaction. And that way it gives you the ability to, if it's like a new build, you're not sending weekly updates for something that's in a 6-month build period. Like that would probably get annoying for the agents too. And then they would stop reading them. And then it looks bad on your email that they're not opening your emails. It's a trickle down effect of making sure you're getting relevant information to the right person at the right time with the right info so that they're actually opening your emails and you're getting a good reputation score on your email. So
I highly recommend using a mobile app. It gives them real-time updates across the entire transaction.
Yeah, definitely. That app is key. Like when I was actually in the field using it, it's just really nice in between appointments to be able to jump on the app and see every field that you give them access to, and contacts and documents, and even tasks. If you want to give them tasks to view, like completed tasks versus not completed tasks, like you can see all that in the app, and you can get a bird's eye view. I can just pull it up real quick and see what's going on without having to call my TC and bother them. And, with 5 calls about, hey, what'd you say about this? Or what happened with this? Or what date is this? It's all right there in their fingertips. Okay, that's it for questions. Wow, that was good. 56 minutes. I need a nap. Anyone have any last questions? I'll give you 3 minutes. Right at 12 o'clock, we'll go ahead and end this. I'll give you 3 minutes to get any additional questions. Again, thank you for all the questions. That was great. Made this go really fast. A lot of good information that other people are probably struggling with too. So if you have a question that you think is dumb or whatever, ask it, because other people are struggling with these same things. And we want to get this information out to these people. So, you're not alone. Is basically what I'm saying. So Facebook group is great. Support is incredible for, issues. And these Wednesday webinars are almost like private coaching sessions. Honestly, we only have usually 30, 40 people in here. So it's great to, have that one-on-one time. You're welcome to all the people that said thank you. Thank you for being on here. So cool. We'll give you a couple minutes.
I want to say thank you, Andrew, for burning through that whole hour. You were dropping out some really great information there.
It is, I need some water and I need
we cough drop maybe.
Yeah. Well, 2 minutes. Any last questions? Anything that's burning you or, you just can't get an answer on? We're back next Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday, same time, same place. I think these are helpful by the comments we got. So we'll keep doing them. A shout out to Hannah and Jana for helping anonymous attendee get started on their program. So they don't want us to know who.
Thank you.
All right, we'll hang out here for another minute just to make sure we get everything answered. Okay, looks like people are dropping off. So, okay, cool. Well, thanks again, everyone. Like I said, same time next week, same place. We will see you then. Thanks again for being here. These are, it's awesome seeing the attendance and the collaboration here. And Facebook group is also great, and a lot of people wanting to help other people out, which is great to see. So we'll see you next week. Have a great day.